There are so many good games out there, oftentimes it seems nearly impossible to play them all. Some games you just end up missing for one reason or another. Hi folks, it's Mac, and today, as usual, we've got some very cool games for you. This time we're looking at 15 potentially overlooked single-player games you need to try.
Kagachi, ikeru?
問題ない。
Okay, first up we have Oninaki. This one pulls you straight into an action RPG world where the line between life and death blurs constantly. The story is heavy. You're dealing with themes of reincarnation, loss, and moving on from the dead, so there's always this underlying element of melancholy. The core plot has you taking on the role of a watcher, someone who guides lost souls into reincarnation, but right away you get the sense that things aren't so simple, especially once the emotional weight of these spirits is revealed. Compared to something like I Am Setsuna, this feels more intense, partly thanks to Oninaki's fast-paced hack-and-slash combat system. You're relying on these spirits, called demons, to help in battle. Each has their own style, adding to the strategic layer in the middle of all that action. Chaining together complex attacks with different spirits almost feels like you're weaving pieces into some bigger cosmic story, where every fight echoes the bigger themes of life and death. The linear storyline never lets you forget the core of what Oninaki is about, confronting death and the tough realities of reincarnation. It's not about flashy battles or loot systems. Every move has a weight to it. Every decision digs deeper into whether characters should let go or linger. Throughout, you're questioning the world's view on life and the afterlife in ways that feel surprisingly profound for an action RPG, giving players more than enough emotional threads to peel back while you cut through enemies. Coming in next, it's Bladed Fury. Bladed Fury offers a dynamic hack-and-slash experience with an art style that pops off the screen. Set in a world filled with ancient Chinese mythology, the game blends fast-paced combat with a story deeply rooted in revenge and family betrayal. It's sleek and stylish in how it presents combat sequences, reminding you that fluidity is key when chaining attacks effortlessly. You play as Ji, a princess wronged by her royal family, and the journey she goes on is one of pure unrelenting action. That distinct art style is not just cosmetic, it feels like you're slashing through a traditional hand-painted scroll with its thick lines and bold colors. The presentation draws you into the mythological setting, making these ancient gods and creatures pop with intensity. And each battle feels like a perfectly timed dance of swordsmanship mixed with supernatural powers. There's a rhythm to the combat with parries, dashes, and aerial combos that flow from one moment to the next. The linear progression works to the game's advantage here, pushing you from one visually stunning boss fight to another, each tied into the story of Ji's vengeance. The bosses are intricate, nodding to Chinese folklore while keeping the gameplay challenging. Bladed Fury never lingers. It's swift, just like its combat, but it sticks with you mostly due to how it marries fluid mechanics with that vibrant mythological vibe.
It ain't even moving, it's stuck. Watch it, lady.
Next up, it's Murdered Soul Suspect. Yeah, this one has such a unique hook compared to any other game on this list because you're literally solving your own murder, roaming around as a ghost in a quaint little town thick with mysteries. The story is front and center here, not so much the action, it's a slow burn, and that pacing gives it this almost melancholic feel as you put together the pieces of your own demise. You play as Detective Ronan O'Connor, who, spoiler, is killed right away, so you've got to investigate from beyond the grave. The supernatural side of things is what makes the experience stand out. As a ghost, you're navigating through otherworldly realms and using your spectral abilities to possess humans or peek into their thoughts. Although there's a bit of combat, but it's not in a traditional sense. Instead, you spend most of your time using your ghostly detective skills, finding clues, reliving memories, and piecing together the case. The fact that you can't interact with the world like a living person adds this interesting wrinkle to puzzle solving. You're forced to work around your limitations, which makes for some pretty creative investigation sequences. Of course, Murdered Soul Suspect isn't just about your case. It dives into the town's troubled past, offering layers of interconnected stories filled with hauntings, curses, and unresolved tragedies. The game nails that feeling of being someone who can't move on, both by its mechanics and its emotional storytelling. It's not a game about action, but about finding peace by piecing together a broken life, or afterlife. Coming in next, we have Song of Horror. With Song of Horror, you don't get the comfort of predictable horror tropes. It's unnerving from the start, with a style that leans heavily on its atmosphere. The game's narrative unravels across multiple chapters, each steeped in tension, like a classic survival horror you'd associate with the early days of the genre. There's something deeply unsettling about the way the game handles its scares. Random encounters with the unseen entity can happen at any moment, keeping you on edge for the entirety of your playthrough. What sets it apart is that you're not just playing as one protagonist. The game gives you a rotating cast of characters, each with their own backgrounds, strengths, and weaknesses. The stakes are real here because if one of them dies, it's permanent. You're left juggling the risk of losing a character, knowing their story contribution is lost forever. Every time you open a door or turn a corner, the feeling of dread builds up. It's slow, creeping horror rather than the jump scare variety. Puzzles play a key role in Song of Horror, enhancing that classic survival feel. They aren't merely obstacles, but these gateways into the mysteries surrounding the haunted places you explore. It's the unknown and the unpredictable that creates such a thick atmosphere. The game doesn't linger on simple shock factor moments. Instead, it roots you in deep fear of the world itself, luring you in as you puzzle out its dark narrative chapter by chapter.
Allison! Ollie? Allison, help!
Next on the list, it's Tell Me Why. Tell Me Why is one of those games that just kind of grabs you with its emotional storytelling. You've got twins, Tyler and Allison, who are reconnecting after a long separation, and the whole game revolves around diving into their shared but often conflicting memories. It's a very introspective game with a lot of focus on dialogue and decisions, and surprisingly, those choices tend to feel really personal. It's not like you're making world-altering decisions, you're dealing with this intimate family mystery, which makes everything feel more grounded. One unique thing this game leans into is how it handles memory. The game's central mechanic has you exploring these twins' differing recollections of their childhood, adding this level of ambiguity to what's true. You're piecing the puzzle of their past together slowly as Tyler, who's transgender, also confronts his role in it. It's not an in-your-face type of narrative. Instead, it gently nudges you to confront themes of identity, family trauma, and belonging. The dialogue-driven exploration and emotionally charged environments don't try to rush you. They want you to marinate in the characters' pain and love for each other. Tell Me Why isn't about major action-filled moments. It's about emotional touchstones, the kind of moments that stick with you long after because they feel like something out of a personal memory, not someone else's grand adventure.
Could this have something to do with what we saw?
I guess it could, but it didn't feel like that.
Coming in next, I think I really have to mention the Dark Pictures anthology Little Hope on this list. So Little Hope was bound to be compared to other horror entries because it's part of the Dark Pictures anthology, but it holds its own. This one's steeped in an eerie town setting, packed with fog-draped roads and that veil of something's really off. You're leading this group of characters through a branching narrative, making decisions that ripple out, like a true narrative horror piece. What's really working for Little Hope is that layered tension. There's no immediate rush. It's almost more effective because it feels like you're waiting for the proverbial shoe to drop. And then things escalate wildly, from creepy little girl ghosts to haunting visuals that crawl into your brain, sparking this real sense of unease. Character-driven tension keeps the stakes high. There aren't over-the-top scares peppered around like in cheaper horror experiences. The sense of isolation within this long-abandoned town creates a structure that doesn't need much to spark genuine dread. There's this moment-to-moment uncertainty, not from jump scares, but from the unpredictability. Characters feel human, and you really don't want those quick-time events to go sideways because consequences? Yeah, they linger. Comparatively, within the anthology series, Little Hope evolves the formula by refining how choices cause chaos in ways you don't predict. Something fans of the genre will appreciate. Less head-spinning action, more intensive psychological horror.
Stay away from me. Stay away.
Hey, shh. It's okay. I'm a friend. I'm here to help.
Next up, we have Get Even. This one starts by throwing you deep into a psychological maze, blurring the line between reality and memory in a way that immediately grips you. You're Cole Black, a man with amnesia, and everything revolves around recovering his fragmented memories. While it technically fits into the FPS genre, it's not your typical shooter. It's much darker, almost like unraveling a mystery seen through a cracked lens. Each step you take further down this rabbit hole isn't just about getting answers, but unlocking bigger, more uncomfortable truths. What makes Get Even truly gripping is how it mixes in these memories that you can explore. You're using a device called the Pandora headset, and it lets you dive into scenes from your past, sometimes offering little pieces of the puzzle that only make sense later. The game plays with perspective, constantly keeping you guessing. You're in combat scenarios one moment, then deep into cerebral sequences the next, fiddling through clues until things snap into focus. There's an eerie, cold feeling to this game's atmosphere that never really lets go. Whether you're exploring abandoned complexes, unraveling hidden truths, or trying to peel back the layers of Black's fractured mind, there's always a sense of unease. When the action does kick in, it serves the narrative rather than overtaking it, making each sequence feel essential. It's one of those rare blends of psychological thriller and FPS that dole out pieces of the story bit by bit, where you're not just shooting things, you're digging into something far more personal. Coming up next, we have Air, Memories of Old. This game takes a more reflective tone with its serene world of exploration. There's no combat, no rush, just this calming journey through floating islands in the sky. You're playing as Auk, a shapeshifter, able to transform into a bird, gliding across a world that's seen its fair share of decay and destruction. The game gives you wings as you smoothly transform between human and bird form, exploring ruins and piecing together the history of the world before it crumbles completely. The freedom to explore is where Air thrives, though it holds onto a core linear storyline that gently pushes you forward. Each area feels like a small puzzle, not in the traditional sense, but more of finding out how to navigate through its majestic ruins. The sense of discovery isn't filled with tension or danger. Instead, it's about uncovering ancient wisdom and understanding what's been lost. There's something uniquely meditative about soaring through open skies, dipping down to inspect temples, and then pulling back into flight with nothing around but clouds and sky. This game doesn't rush you. It lets you linger in its quiet world, absorbing the echoes of what once existed. In a way, the game's simplicity becomes its strength. It's designed for those moments where players just want to breathe in a virtual world, piece together its narrative, and savor its tranquil charm. Next on the list, we have Chernobylite. Now hold on, because Chernobylite does something quite different. While a lot of people would tag it as a semi-open world survival game, its story is completely linear at heart. Sure, there are branching paths and choices, but they guide you through these intense atmospheric moments that'll have you questioning everything. You step into this dark, eerie recreation of the real Chernobyl exclusion zone, and almost immediately the game pulls you into a downward spiral of tension, mystery, and paranoia. The linearity of the plot keeps things on edge as you're forced to dive deeper into this radioactive nightmare. What really hits hard is how alive the exclusion zone feels. Despite the open-ended exploration, you're always laser-focused on advancing the main narrative thread, a goal that brings together all the survival and exploration elements in a way that feels both cinematic and deeply personal. Unlike some survival games that give you endless tasks and distractions, here, the tension revolves around the story. While you do have the chance to build a base or recruit companions, those are structured moments that support the narrative instead of pulling you away from it. The environmental storytelling is haunting too. You encounter remnants of lives shattered by the disaster, strange hallucinatory events, and radioactivity creeping around every corner. Every move forward feels like a deliberate step into another revelation, like the game's leading you down a single mysterious tunnel, even when the map tells you otherwise. Coming in next, we have Twin Mirror. Now, Twin Mirror doesn't immediately shout from the rooftops, but once you're in, there's this pull to the way it handles personal investigation. It's slower, more methodical. From the creators of Life is Strange, you can tell they've got their story-focused DNA all over this. It's set in a small town, and right away you're dealing with memory manipulation, like literally stepping into the protagonist's mind palace and exploring his past. Sure, it borrows from some familiar psychological thriller tropes, but the twisting narrative delivers this hook slowly, luring you deeper. Now, where Twin Mirror really goes for it is by adding layers to the memories. You're piecing together clues that sometimes don't fit, and that's a great metaphor for how fragmented everyone's perspective is. You got this element of unreliability, where even you're unsure if the right decisions are being made. It's not an action-heavy game, more like a journey where each step adds a deeper sense of unease. The exploration mechanics inside the memory sequences have a kind of surreal charm. When you're diving into someone's mind, finding clues or reliving memories through warped visuals, it doesn't feel like just a gimmick. There's a real risk of steering the mystery wrong, which makes the investigation both satisfying and tense. Twin Mirror is one of those low-key gems that asks for a bit of focus, but it pays off in this quiet, cerebral way.
This stuff gets everywhere.
Next on the list, it's the Gunk. Now, with the Gunk, you might not have it top of mind when thinking about sci-fi games, but it's kind of like a cozy weekend adventure waiting for you. What stands out here is the way it embraces simplicity, especially in its level progression. You're on this alien planet cleaning up these weird blobs of gunk, pretty much doing what the title says. And that's the beauty of it. It's linear in a way that feels like flipping through a really absorbing comic book, with different environments opening up as you progress. You don't get bogged down in endless choices or systems like in some open world games. Instead, the enjoyment comes from unraveling more of the planet through exploration and uncovering what's going on with this slimy substance. The developers crafted this flow that pulls you through without overcomplicating things. There's a tactile satisfaction in scooping up the gunk pieces with your gloved hand too, like a vacuum cleaner, but it doesn't wear out its welcome. It's therapeutic instead, and every moment stacks up the experience, whether it's the pacing or how the mystery of the world deepens with soft environmental storytelling. No over-the-top mechanics, just simple moments that build into something memorable. It all comes together into a light-hearted journey that takes you exactly where the game wants without losing pace or direction.
Elliot, what's wrong?
The windshield has been destroyed. I'm going to eject.
Next up, we have Bright Memory Infinite. This one is wild in a totally different way. Imagine grabbing an FPS, like with all the speedy shooting mechanics you're used to, and mashing that with fast hack-and-slash mayhem. It's a short, punchy game, but what it does in that span feels intense. Movement in this game is key. You're not just strafing or taking cover, instead you're jet dashing through the air, slicing up enemies with a sword 1 second and shooting in the next. It creates this feeling of being untouchable if you get the rhythm right. Chaining combos and dodging attacks. What stands out in Bright Memory Infinite is how fluid the combat is. The pacing just never slows down. Transitions between using firearms and melee weapons, everything's instant, almost like the game wants you to play it in a seamless flow of action. The futuristic setting is kind of just a backdrop to the chaos, but honestly that's fine, because the real selling point is this super satisfying combat loop. There's some enemy variety, sure, but the real joy comes from mastering the mechanics to such a degree that switching between shotgun blasts and flashy sword combos almost feels like playing two types of games at once. Though there's no massive story arc, no mystery to uncover, it's all about appreciating this burst of adrenaline and flashy mechanics layered over a futuristic playground. For anyone who likes their games fast and loves the action right in their face, Bright Memory Infinite delivers that high energy flow perfectly.
I'm gonna kill you! Give me the goddamn pictures!
Up next, we have Blacksad Under the Skin. So, stepping into the world of Blacksad Under the Skin, you immediately feel the pull of that gritty noir setting. It's 1950s New York, but instead of humans, you've got fully fleshed out anthropomorphic animals playing the classic hard-boiled detective roles. You play as John Blacksad, a tough private investigator with secrets to uncover. The whole vibe? Think rainy streets, dimly lit offices, shady characters lurking around every corner. In short, this game doesn't shy away from pushing that noir aesthetic hard. The narrative does the heavy lifting here. You're not in for any fast-paced action sequences. The game focuses on detective work in the most traditional sense: clues, interrogations, and piecing things together. There's a lot of back and forth dialogue. Conversations always feel loaded because Blacksad lets you change approaches with different characters, and turning the wrong corner during a conversation might lead the investigation somewhere completely unexpected. The way Blacksad weaves in moral choices is subtle. There aren't right paths laid out. Instead, you're digging deeper into the characters and the city's corruption, but it's up to you how close you want to play things to the chest. That's where the noir charm comes through. It's not just about the mystery, it's about what kind of detective you want to be in a world that feels constantly teetering on the edge of collapse. Each choice nudges Blacksad into its richly painted world, where every conversation and decision matters more than pulling a trigger. Coming in next, we have a bit of chill game. It's Submerged Hidden Depths. When you dive into Submerged Hidden Depths, the first thing you notice is there's no combat. You're exploring a world submerged underwater, making your way through peaceful ruins. It feels incredibly meditative, and that's where it connects really well to the story it's trying to tell. One about loss, growth, and finding beauty in a place that's been overtaken by nature. The flooded world itself is the star. Your path through the game revolves around recovering artifacts, uncovering structures that are old but somehow alive with history tucked into every corner. As you and your sibling boat through the water and climb up through these ruined buildings, there's this odd feeling of reclaiming something lost. The quiet story doesn't jump out at you, but rather lets you lean into the environment and reflective mood. It's not some epic journey. Submerged Hidden Depths focuses more on the gentle act of exploration. The satisfaction comes from finding remnants of the old world and pulling beauty from this ruined, flooded wasteland. You're not rushing, you're almost wandering, embracing the serenity of water lapping at forgotten cities. While the linear progression moves you from one area to the next, the emotional beat of the tale grows stronger as you get a sense that loss here is less about mourning and more about moving forward.
If I ever think about what we left behind?
I mean, we've been here for what, going on 8 months now. That's quite the stint, especially when home is more than 1,000,000 miles away.
And finally, we have Moons of Madness. So Moons of Madness takes the cold alien landscape of Mars and turns it into something far more sinister. At first glance, you might think it's just another sci-fi game. You're exploring a base on Mars and dealing with the challenges of isolation. But right when you think you're in for a basic space survival experience, things get weird. The game fully leans into cosmic horror, drawing on themes straight out of Lovecraft's playbook. So while you're worrying about the tech and systems aboard this Mars facility, unseen forces creep their way into every part of the experience. Psychological tension is everywhere. Whether you're dealing with weird hallucinations or twisted creatures that defy explanation, Moons of Madness keeps you on edge. Mars might seem vast and empty, but the game's tight corridors and ever-darkening atmosphere make even the smallest spaces feel claustrophobic. The calm scientific veneer starts peeling away as the true horror unfolds. Then there's the sense of hopelessness. Unlike some horror games where there's an off chance you'll fight back effectively, in this game, you're more about survival. Exploration becomes desperate, not so much about curiosity, but this constant need to push forward despite the terror that lurks. It's one of those games that messes with your head, blending the cold science of space with the unknowable terror of cosmic dread. But that's all for today. Leave us a comment, let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, this is a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos from time to time, and the best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription. Don't forget to enable notifications, and as always, we thank you very much for watching this video.